Mackenzie critiques the Mackenzie Dick Rides the Fair anime. Welcome to another Moin Rage. This Moin Rage I wanted to kind of chime in on because it's been going on for a while. This has been in the conversation for years and years and years and years, and it's kind of coming to a head now with all this legislation and the kind of discussion in governments and in Europe and even worldwide about microtransactions and loot boxes and whether or not they're predatory and whether or not it's gambling. So they say that if we consider this gambling, if we consider microtransactions, or rather loot boxes to be specific, to be gambling, then they should be regulated by gambling legislation or gambling laws. Now, I think most of these companies that kind of defend them, saying, look, it's not gambling, it's not gambling, they kind of try and finesse the definition of things, and it's quite vague because I want to chime in on this with my kind of point of view, because I want to actually liken this to booster packs. Trading card booster packs. So I'll give you an example, something I'm familiar with, Yu-Gi-Oh card booster packs. As a kid, like, I'm trying to bring my own experience to this Moin Rage because it's kind of worrying me how these companies know. They legit know, like Epic know the kind of people that play Fortnite. It's the kids. It's the kids that want the skins, the kids that want a chance at a rare drop or rare item or this, that, the other. I was an avid Yu-Gi-Oh card collector. I used to play the game. I thought Yu-Gi-Oh was like the next chess. It was like better than chess. Like, me and my mates used to go, chess is the game of kings, but I think Yu-Gi-Oh's actually got a lot of depth and strategy to it. I just felt that they started releasing decks and packs and cards which kind of dumbed things down to make it a lot easier, like themed decks, and it kind of forced you into a playstyle which I didn't like. But I digress. This idea that when you say kids are buying booster packs and they're actually paying for chance, they're paying for probability, they're gambling on chance, and then the companies, Upper Deck Entertainment or Konami, whoever it is who distributes these booster packs for Yu-Gi-Oh, they go, no, what we promise is when you buy a booster pack with 6 cards in it, we promise you 4 commons, 1 super and 1 ultra. Like, we very, very clearly expressly state on the pack that you're guaranteed this. But on the flip side, and I can talk as a consumer, and you can apply this to almost anything like that. That's not what kids are spending their money on. They're hoping that amongst the booster packs they're buying, that they're gonna get the ultra rare, super secret rare, Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the End. They're not. They know what they're getting. They know what they're buying. When you buy a product, you're supposed to know what you're buying, just as a default. But you really are gambling on chance that out of these 10 packs that you buy, you're gonna get that super ultra rare thing that you've got. And these companies know that, but they kind of finagle and finesse the definition so that they convince the regulatory authority that, look, these guys are paying for something that they know what they're gonna get. But they understand the psychology of gambling. The gambling is a psychology. It's a psychological problem. It's an addiction. It's a sickness, right? So I think this is something that we really have to worry about, and which I'm actually glad that Europe and other countries are kind of talking about. It's in the discussion because while most of these games and you could say that something isn't necessarily marketed towards children, but by association you have to assume that some things are associated to kids. So you may have a trading card game which has a cartoon made out of it, aimed for kids, like a G or PG-13 kind of cartoon to kind of sell people on it. I know for a fact that the Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon got me into the trading card game, and I love the trading card game even more than I do the cartoon. Fortnite, for example, is another example. It's clearly aimed for kids, even though adults really enjoy it. I mean, look at the Russo brothers, who created the Avengers films, Infinity War, Endgame, fucking Winter Soldier. They fucking enjoy playing it. I mean, this is the argument people make for shonen. Oh, the demographic shonen young boy, it's made for kids, but adults can watch it too. That's not the fuck I'm saying, fam. I'm not saying that adults can't watch it. It's the demographic it's aimed at. The people they market it towards. the time slots they perhaps air it, the advertising TV slots they buy are for kids after school or on cartoon channels. The marketing is very much aimed at kids. This is their bread and butter. This is their bread and butter audience. So they know who's playing it. They know who they're marketing towards. But they'll try and, like snake oil salesmen, they'll try and slip past with definitions and legal loopholes and finesse the definitions so they can kind of slip past the the regulatory authority, right? And I feel as though my experience with booster packs, it's a valid concern about this being the case for gaming and bringing that model to gaming. Because look, when you buy a pack, when you buy a fucking pack in a game, whether it be Halo or Fortnite or whatever it is, and you're paying real money for it, yeah, you're getting 4 commons, one semi-rare, 1 ultra rare, yeah, you know that, but you're hoping that you get something specific you're hoping for. So it's like winning the lottery. You're hoping you win the lottery. You don't give a fuck about getting like 4 out of 5 of the numbers. You know what I mean? Like, you care about winning the fucking lottery. You know that the jackpot. So there's and they know that the psychology gambling, keeps coming back because you're hoping for a specific outcome. And it's the same for these things. In that booster pack, you don't give a fuck about the commons. You don't really give a fuck about the super rare thing. You really care about the ultra, and then if you break it down even more, you care about specific ultras because you can keep getting the same ultra and over. And they know this. I know for a fact they fucking know this. And they've caught on to the last game in town, and then they're doing that. And I feel as though there's a lot of really dangerous models that they've seen work on people. Marketing models, advertising models they've seen work on people, which is why in my FF7 remake rant I brought up the Hegelian dialectic, that they've seen this kind of political tactic that they've used about creating a pretext. It's using terrorism, false flags, you might have heard of it. Hegelian dialectic, right? Create the problem, get the public to demand the solution, and you offer them the solution to the problem you created, because you need to steer the public in a certain direction. You need to convince them that they asked for it and you didn't impose it on them. Creeping, very creeping sort of fascism. So they now apply that to their gaming practices. They leave shit out. They want you to demand that shit so that it doesn't look like you left anything out, and then you give it to them. You charge them more for it, and no one's the wiser. So I think you got to be really careful, because they're bringing that booster pack model now. Is it fair to say that booster pack, the trading card booster pack should be regulated? Maybe, honestly, maybe. I mean, I feel as though loot boxes are the new booster packs, and then there's a wider argument about whether or not kids should have access to, credit cards and that kind of thing, because I mean, this money's coming from somewhere. So I think good parenting is also another factor that's involved in this. But if there's a gambling aspect to it, even a psychological aspect to it, I think it needs to be regulated, to be honest. And I think there's a lot of validity to the argument that a lot of things are just delivery devices for gambling or addiction. So there was a time where you could classify cigarettes as basically a delivery device for tobacco. This was what created the conversation about attacks on cigarettes and the warnings about that, and the alarm that cigarettes created, because it became a really, really lucrative industry, and somebody figured that this is actually a delivery device for tobacco, which they were able to kind of be a bit more strict and enforce more on cigarettes. So one could say that Fortnite's a delivery device for gambling. It's valid to make that argument, and that's why I brought up the Yu-Gi-Oh argument, because there was a cartoon, and the cartoon got people interested in the card game. So one could say that the cartoon was just a glorified advert for the trading card game. And what was the trading card game? An economy of booster packs with rarity. And just like you've got, it's common, ultra, super, whatever it is, whatever denomination you have. So I felt that was fair, because a lot of these things they know are just delivery devices. They hook you in, they create the hook, and then you've got the meta narrative or the meta game within it, which is actually the predatory, because they've got to hook you in. but the facade is all cutesy and this, that, and the other, but the meta on there is actually much more sinister. What do you guys think of this whole microtrans and loot box thing? I thought this has gone on long enough and I haven't really chimed in on any meaningful way. But I wanted to now chime in on it because of this whole gambling aspect to it. And I feel as though, as someone who was a kid growing up who was addicted to Premier League football sticker albums, wasting bucks. I'm talking about money that wasn't even my own. I don't even go into it, my indiscretions in life, but money that wasn't even my own, god damn it. And I feel as though I was a kid, and if I was a kid growing up now, I'd be addicted to this shit, man. And it's at your fingertips now. It's at your fingertips without your parents even knowing. You don't need to rifle through their fucking wallet and steal and shit like that. Their fucking credit card's hooked up to your fucking account. You know what I mean? Like, they wanted to buy you a gift. They go, oh, here's your present, and then it's just there, and they forget about it. You know what I mean? So I think parenting is involved. I think it should be regulated. I think it can create in kind of the more weak-minded people, the weak-minded kids. I think it can really affect them, and some of these kids carry that on into later life. Gambling, casinos, that kind of thing. My friends are into casinos. Some of them are more responsible. They control the gamblers, right? They're more casual. But some people can fall into that pit and they keep going. They get addicted. I think it's really careful. It's a slippery slope, as they say. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and be sure to comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, follow me on my backup channel. It's very important. You know what I mean? Don't do it once I've gone down. Click the icon at the bottom and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Peace.